In our first story tonight, the Registrar General's Department has today begun the processes to delist 3,100 companies from its record of companies. The first 3,000 is part of the more than 100,000 names that have been earmarked by the department to be delisted by the close of the year. The move follows failure by the firms to update their records and file annual returns as mandated by law. Here's more from a statement released by the department.
The statement also noted that a little over 257,000 companies existing in the database have not filed their returns or amendments with the department since 2011, while about 670,000 firms in the legacy system have not carried out any update of their data dubbed re-registration as at March 2020. The delisting process is commencing with 3,100 companies being taken off the companies registered this month for being inactive. This is out of the over 100,000 companies registered since 2011. It is happening after several warnings by the Registrar General's Department to get companies to update their records has been unsuccessful. The department used the opportunity to urge all businesses, whether in operation or not, to take measures to regularize their business and update their records to avoid being delisted. Here's Registrar General Jemima Owari.
Remember the last time I also said most people registered initially just for the sake of registering a company, maybe just for maybe a visa or a contract, and didn't really understand what it is to have a company and the serious implications it comes up with. So once they got the contract or they didn't get the contract, they didn't bother. So it's been sitting on our database for over 8 years. They've never filed any returns, and it's just sitting there and taking up space. So we want to be able to know viable companies that are doing business in Ghana. That's why we're going around this exercise. So
any punishment or penalties for them?
Yes, I mean, those who we're going to strike off, obviously, we can't really collect any penalty. They are not interested in carrying on business, so we'll just take it off. But any other person who is interested in carrying on business will have to come and pay the penalties and restore the company back to the good standing it's supposed to be in.
Companies in the category includes public-private limited by shares and public-private companies limited by guarantee, among others.
Now, former Finance Minister Seth Terkper says the 2021 budget has failed to achieve its intended purpose of fiscal consolidation, that is, raising more revenue and cutting expenditure to close the financing gap, as well as reducing the debt stock. This, according to him, will deprive government the needed funds to execute critical infrastructure projects which are necessary to grow the economy and create jobs. Speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Terkper said data from the first 7 months of this year indicates that government's fiscal targets for this year will be missed, whilst borrowing will continue to surge. There's more in this report.
According to the former finance minister, the 2021 budget has not done enough to improve the fiscal economy. He therefore warns that the fiscal deficit and the debt situation will worsen this year unless some critical interventions are made between now and the end of the year. The rippling effect of a rising budget deficit and debt is higher interest rates and inflation.
The fiscal situation is said that we will be debt dependent. In that if the trajectory is for the deficit, to go up, and if the trajectory, is for more borrowing, then it means that the fiscal situation will not improve and there will be no consolidation. But this is something which we had said. So if you take debt, for example, where I ended, the debt being reported by the central bank is 76.4% as at the end of July. This is the same as the debts officially reported at the end of 2020.
Mr. Terkper, however, said despite the challenge with the fiscal economy, there is still some hope, but wants government to be prudent in its financial management. He once again urged government to consider a homegrown policy to bring hope to the economy.
Our proposal for a homegrown policy, in the absence of externally, as I say, external assistance, which normally comes with some conditionalities that we call programs, which, by the way, is not just the IMF, who supports it, or IMF takes the lead, but you have World Bank, and African Development Bank and others, coming in to support such a program. Then we could do our own homegrown, which is what countries that are not the advanced countries and others who do not go to the fund for, bailout and other, in a situation we find ourselves, do for themselves. And you remember in 2013, 2014, we proposed a homegrown policy that we used to negotiate the IMF program. It is up to government, it's a prerogative of governments to accept it or not. Government insists that, they have a path to recovery.
Ghana's debt hit 335 billion cedis, about 76% of total value of goods and services produced within the economy in July this year, whilst the fiscal deficit to GDP target was also missed.
Now, as part of its quest to become a world-class organization in revenue mobilization, the Ghana Revenue Authority says it has made strides in its digitization process, a move that will enable it to rake in more tax revenue for the country. This is coming after it secured a loan facility of 3.5 million euros and a grant of 1.5 million euros from KfW Development Bank of Germany to construct an IT training institute in Tema. The project, expected to be completed in November next year, will train GRA staff on how to collect revenue via digitization. Deputy Commissioner in charge of Transformation Office, Valerie Ennison, disclosed this when she represented Commissioner General Ameshadai Owusu-Amwa at a symbolic sword-cutting ceremony.
Ghana Revenue Authority says modernizing tax administration makes voluntary compliance easier and helps fight against fraud. This, however, cannot be fully achieved if staff of the authority are not abreast with modern technology, hence the facility. The 5 million euros facility comes in 3 components: a well-equipped structure, modules to be used for the training, and making the training accessible to GRA staff across the country. Deputy Commissioner, Transformation Office, Valerie Ennison says GRA IT Training Institute is an important project.
In the future, we are planning to strengthen the processes for online filing. We have various other digital initiatives coming up, and therefore this IT Training Institute that we are inaugurating today is extremely important to nurture the talent that we need within our digital transformation, in terms of programmers, in terms of analysts, in terms of systems integration. We need that constant nurture of talent to help us push this transformation forward and make it sustainable also.
German Ambassador to Ghana, Daniel Crew, is calling for the channeling of tax revenue for the right purposes.
In this line, we decided to support the Ghanaian government in improving and modernizing the system of tax collection and the Ghana Revenue Authority, and so we commend the Ghana government on the modernization and digitalization of this service. We believe it is important that the state has the necessary revenues to finance the infrastructure projects, the health service, the education, and so forth. And this is an important step in the strategy of Ghana beyond aid, and Germany is proud to be a partner in this.
Meanwhile, Ghanaian architecture firm Otna and Associates believes in sustainable architecture with green design. Architect Rosemary Otna says the building should be an example for future government buildings.
We believe that also sustainability means that it's optimized It costs you a lot if you have a huge house and you have to maintain it and you have to paint it. So at the end of the day, you have spent a lot to build it and you need a lot to maintain it. And some areas even you don't use it. Yeah. So we want to set a sample to not only talk about it, but to show a sample. So this building should be something that the owner himself notice, wow, my maintenance costs are low here. I don't need so much power here. This is a natural way to get someone to be interested to build that way. Everything else, it's just talk.
The project is expected to be completed in 14 months.
And you're watching Business Live. Some developments we want to update you on. Facebook and its Instagram and WhatsApp platforms have been down in parts of the world today, including here in Ghana. The company says it was aware that some people are having trouble accessing the Facebook app and was working on restoring access. The company did not say what might be causing the outage. It began around 11:45 Eastern Time. Joining me with more on this is host of Geek Squad on Joy FM, in-house tech expert, Kobe Spike in Kuma, with the latest. Kobe, what is happening? Can you unmute Spikey?
Yeah, sorry. Did you get that?
Great, I can hear you now. What's happening?
Right, so as I was saying, knowing Facebook, they will not tell us the details of what exactly is happening, but this has happened a couple of times, and we can assume that it has to do with Facebook sharing infrastructure with Instagram and WhatsApp. So one little change that goes wrong could affect the whole, business. And it's happened this year. It's happened before. I think a couple of months ago it happened. A couple of weeks actually ago it happened, where Facebook actually and WhatsApp went down periodically. And as always, Facebook will not come out and say what exactly went wrong. But sometimes even making a small change in a system as big as Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram could end up impacting the whole system.
I'm just reading that Facebook says it's normal for websites and apps to suffer outages. Normal?
It is actually very normal. Like I said, consider it like the house. Mm-hmm. And maybe you want to make changes to a certain room, but this is a 100-story building. And you want to make a change on the 54th floor. And you can't take out the 54th floor, work on it, and put it back. So you have to be very skilled in order to make those changes without affecting all the floors. Now, sometimes you may have a very periodic outage. Maybe an elevator will go out in the process of doing this fix, or lights may go out temporarily. It's something that it can happen.
Okay.
So it's not abnormal. It's very normal.
I've been checking my WhatsApp for some time now, since 3:38. So that's been more than an hour.
Yes.
When do you think we are going to get this restored? I mean, typically when this happens, this looks like the longest.
Yes, this has actually taken quite a while, and it usually shouldn't take too long because this is their bread and butter. This is how Facebook makes money. So the longer it stays down, the more money they lose, the more businesses lose money. So I'm sure they're working tirelessly to get it up. In the meantime, Twitter and other social media platforms are enjoying a lot of users now. For instance, I've just seen a lot of people signing up to Telegram as we speak. Groups are moving to Telegram as we speak because, WhatsApp is down, so yeah.
I'm interested in you telling our audience how exactly the business community is losing money by the second, so long as these platforms are down.
So a lot of businesses have invested money in Facebook ads, and sometimes you're doing a communication, you put out a communication and you're hoping that your clients get to see what you're putting out. Maybe this communication is timed. Take, for instance, maybe you have something about to happen in the next 2 days, and you're trying to communicate with a large audience, and you need to do that between now and the time that you're about to go live. So assume that during this period, Facebook stays down. All your communication stays off, and a lot of people don't get to see what you're paying for. So all that money you spent on that ad is gone. All that money that you spent on hoping to get that audience is gone. Maybe you got some products that you're trying to sell. A lot of people sell products on Facebook, on Instagram, on WhatsApp, assuming that clients are there and the clients can't reach your clients. That's money that you're losing. And maybe someone has a problem. People use social media as a means of customer service. If people cannot communicate with you on these platforms and they don't even know, a lot of people don't even know that WhatsApp is down. They are going to assume that you're ignoring them, and that could also cost you money. So it's very serious for business.
Do we know which other parts of the world are suffering this blackout?
It seems to be global. If you go to a site called Down Detector, you see where people are complaining from, and it's very widespread. It seems to be very global. I'd like to think that it's the whole world right now.
Okay, and stay with me a while. I just want to bring this in. Facebook is going through a major crisis after the whistleblower, who was the source of the Wall Street Journal series of stories exposing the company's awareness of internal research into the negative effects of its products and decisions, went public on 60 Minutes on Sunday. I don't know if you're following that as well. Your thoughts on this? Can you hear me, Spiky? Okay, looks as though we may have lost. All right, Spiky, are you back? Can you hear me, Spiky? Okay. It's allowed. Today has not been a good day for technology across the world, so you can understand that we are facing a few challenges with Spiky there. But thanks so much, Spiky, for your insight into this. Well appreciated. Now let's turn to other news for you tonight. Regional Director of CAS International, Pierre Kusiadmako, has called for the extension of SIM card re-registration exercise. He says the March 2022 deadline for registration may not be feasible. Government started the exercise at the beginning of this month to, among other outcomes, rid the system of fraudsters. Now, speaking earlier on the marketplace, Mr. Kusiadmako was doubtful the exercise would achieve that aim.
Already, we know that the mobile money market, more funds are transferred through the mobile money network than even the traditional brick and mortar bank. And so, when government is able to have access to mobile money, data, it can help government to also identify whether Ghanaians are actually paying their right source of what is due them in terms of their taxes. Okay, and so we're also looking at a deadline of March 2022. Is that also feasible? Just a second. The deadline is not feasible. I think it would be helpful if government can give, let's say, 12 months period to allow people to be able to register. Some Ghanaians might have traveled abroad and they may not be in the country before March 31st next year. So if you expand it to, let's say, even 31st December 2020, I think that would be very helpful and can allow, most Ghanaians to be able to register. And you're watching Business Live. Still to come, various businesses honored at this year's edition of the Ghana Startup Awards. We'll have that story coming up after this break.
And finally, tonight, web-based online teaching and learning platform eCampus LLC has been adjudged Startup of the Year at this year's edition of the Ghana Startup Awards. The award ceremony was to recognize various startups for their outstanding performance. There's more in this report.
The Ghana Startup Awards is an annual award ceremony that celebrates ambitious and indigenous businesses that are making impact and contributing to the economic growth of the country. Speaking at the award ceremony, CEO of the African Network of Entrepreneurs, Eko Mensah, said the award serves as an avenue to highlight achievements of startups and create a platform for exposure and networking for them.
So startups face a lot of challenges, primarily most of startups. So human capital development and also exposure, marketing and sales. So an event like this helps them with the exposure, marketing and sales and attracts them partners and sponsors and employees that would work with them to grow their startups. So beyond the award, we are setting up what we call the Startup Secretariat and powering it up with a technology called the Startup Portal, which is going to be a platform.
All right, and that's Business Live tonight. Thanks for watching. There's more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Daryl Carl. See you same time tomorrow.